The man hadn't slept for 3 nights, but it was worth $130,000. He couldn't stay awake anymore. His eyes had never been so heavy and he was about to get really paranoid. But the man knew he had to protect the area at all costs. Was there someone there? While patrolling the site, he finally found a clue. It definitely wasn't there earlier. He certainly was not alone. Luke Mahoney was a devoted fan of Indiana Jones and watched all of his movies when being a kid. He wanted to be like him, to look like him, and to behave like him. When getting older, a little boy grew into the budding explorer who wandered the world with his trusty metal detector in the hopes of finding ancient treasure. Only in 10 years, he would realize that the treasure he was seeking around the world had been right under his nose all that time. When taking off the mask of a treasure hunter, the 40-year-old father of 3 ran his own metal detector shop called Joan Allen in the English village of Lindsey. One afternoon, when dreaming about reaching his quarterly sales goal to afford the next exotic expedition, Luke had the most stunning moment of clarity. He grabbed his phone and made a call that had changed the whole course of events. Charlie Buckle was pulling pints at his pub when the phone rang. It was his friend Luke Mahoney, but Charlie didn't have time to take calls as it was lunchtime, and they had a full house of beer lovers waiting on their drink. Luke asked whether they could sweep the fields at the back of the pub, yet Charlie answered he's really busy and would call him back in a while. But Luke was thirsting for getting back on the hunt. He would do literally anything to convince his friend to let him on his land. So in a while, Charlie saw Luke making his way to the front of the crowded bar. All right, Charlie gave up. You can search the field, just let me serve these customers. Luke already purchased a Minelab Equinox 800 detector in the hope his friend would allow him to hunt in the area, so he headed right out to the fields. The following morning, Charlie's phone rang. What now? He moaned after a long night at the pub. Luke gets quite excited about everything he finds, so at first I was like, yeah, okay. But then he kept ringing and told me I had to come down and see what he'd found, Charlie recalls. After finally crawling out of bed, Charlie made his way outside to see what was the actual reason for such a rush. But when he saw what Luke had in his hand, he realized why he was so willing to show him. Luke had spent the whole evening and the next morning scanning the 15-acre field and had found an old coin. Then another, then one more, and one more. Gosh, there were oodles of them. Luke quickly and happily called the authorities in accordance with the Treasure Act of 1996. He did it. He found a real treasure in his own backyard. But there was not only him who was taking out his coins. Luke unearthed several more ancient coins and started getting paranoid. I was up for 3 days solid. I didn't sleep. I just sat there with my eyes open looking for nighthawks. He felt he was in charge of keeping the treasure site safe from raiders until English Heritage would arrive. He was sitting in his car when he saw something moving in the bushes. Once he got to them, he noticed something on the ground that sent him back into high alert mode. There was a headphone case lying on the floor right where he'd been digging. It had definitely not been there before. The hope to get some sleep at night vanished in thin air. However, tomorrow he would get an expert opinion on his finding. Finally, Luke discovered more than 1,000 silver coins in a clay pot, dating back to somewhere between the 15th and 17th centuries. It was all valued at more than 100,000 pounds or $131,000. They were everywhere, said Luke about his big find. It was pandemonium. After 10 minutes of searching, I hit this massive signal and I thought, this is it. But what about the stranger hiding in the bushes? I knew the Nighthawks wouldn't find anything, said Luke confidently. They weren't using the same detector as me. They weren't using the Minelab detector. The man claims his tool is super sensitive, and that's exactly what helped Luke to find the treasure. But did Luke's big finding finally scratch his craving for adventure? The feeling of scraping the dirt away and seeing the coins is indescribable, he said, like a child at Christmas. If you think you have a bit of Indiana Jones in you, you should do it. Even though he earned a lot of money, Luke will never stop hunting for treasure. It's an integral part of his life.